The Galactic Trade Council's emergency session buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from 12 species gathered in the gleaming chrome halls of Station Nexus 7. Admiral of the Empire tapped his 4 claws against the polished table, his scaled hide shifting from blue to deep purple with agitation. "The humans cannot be allowed into the restricted sectors," he hissed, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had conquered 17 star systems. "Their weapons technology is too primitive, too crude. They will embarrass themselves and potentially cause diplomatic incidents." Around the table, heads nodded in agreement. The Hive Queen clicked her mandibles thoughtfully. "Our intelligence reports show they still use projectile weapons that require chemical propellants. Barbaric." "Agreed," rumbled General, his massive frame making the reinforced chair creak. This rock-like skin was from countless battles. "Our plasma rifles can melt through reinforced titanium. Their bullets bounce off standard combat armor like pebbles." The holographic display in the center showed footage from humanity's recent first contact. Ambassador Sarah stood confidently in her simple blue uniform, flanked by 2 guards carrying what appeared to be modified automatic rifles. To the assembled aliens, they looked like museum pieces. "The Sector 9 mining operations have been plagued by the savage clans for months," continued Admiral. "These pirates use military-grade, energy shields, and plasma weaponry. We've lost 3 well-equipped expeditionary forces trying to clear them out. The last thing we need is humans getting themselves killed with their primitive weapons." Doctor, the ethereal research coordinator, materialized more solidly in her chair. Her translucent form glowed with concern. "Perhaps we should explain the situation to them diplomatically. Humans seem reasonable." "Reasonable but stubborn," Admiral replied. "When we suggested they upgrade their weapons before attempting any joint operations, their military representative laughed. He actually laughed and said their equipment was perfectly adequate for the job." The memory made several council members shift uncomfortably. Human laughter had proven to be an unsettling sound to most species. General pulled up tactical displays. "The savage clans have established fortified positions in the asteroid belt around 442b. Their leader, Warlord On, commands over 2,000 pirates equipped with Mark VII battle armor. These suits can withstand direct hits from military-grade plasma cannons. The energy shields alone cost more than most planets' annual defense budgets." "And you're telling me the humans want to participate in the operation to clear them out?" Queen L's compound eyes reflected the tactical displays. "With those primitive weapons?" Admiral brought up another file. "Not just participate, they volunteered to spearhead the assault, something about earning their place in galactic society." The council chamber fell silent except for the hum of the station's environmental systems. Through the massive viewports, the stars seemed to mock their deliberations. "The humans don't understand what they're facing," Doctor said quietly. "On's forces destroyed the Hegemony's assault fleet last month, 40 ships, each one equipped with weapons that could level cities. The pirates didn't lose a single fighter." General activated a combat recording. The hologram showed savage clan warriors in their imposing, each one 3 meters tall and bristling with weapons. Energy shields shimmered around them like soap bubbles made of lightning. Plasma bolts that could melt through starship hulls bounced harmlessly off their defenses. "Look at this footage," General growled. "Standard plasma rifles do nothing. Anti-armor rockets are absorbed by the shields. We tried kinetic penetrators, particle beams, even experimental gravity weapons. Nothing gets through." Admiral zoomed in on one particular pirate. The warriors was decorated with kill marks, dozens of small symbols representing destroyed ships and fallen enemies. "This is On himself. His personal suit is rumored to be equipped with experimental technology that makes him virtually invincible." "The humans must be made to understand," Queen L insisted. "Their primitive projectile weapons will be completely useless. We cannot allow them to throw their lives away in a futile gesture." Doctor accessed the human military files again. According to their specifications, their most advanced rifles fire small metal projectiles at approximately 900 meters per second. Even with their heaviest ammunition, the kinetic energy would be insufficient to penetrate basic personal armor, let alone military grade. "It's not just about the weapons," Admiral continued. "Human tactics are primitive too. They rely on cover, concealment, and what they call squad-based maneuvers. Against enemies who can see through walls and fire weapons that don't require line of sight, such tactics are worthless. The tactical display showed a simulation of human soldiers taking cover behind rocks and barriers. The aliens had run dozens of scenarios, and in each one, the humans were eliminated within minutes of engagement. "We should assign them to logistics support," suggested General. "Let them handle supply convoys and medical evacuation, something they can't mess up too badly." "They won't accept that," Admiral replied with certainty. "I've dealt with humans before. They have this concept they call honor that makes them want to prove themselves in combat. Offering them support roles would be seen as an insult." Queen L accessed her species' psychological profiles. The hive has studied human behavior extensively. They possess an unusual trait called stubbornness that often overrides logical self-preservation. Combined with their primitive technology, this makes them extremely dangerous to themselves. "There's something else," Doctor said hesitantly. "The humans have been unusually secretive about their exact equipment specifications. When we requested detailed technical readouts of their weapons, they provided only basic information." Admiral's scales darkened with suspicion. "What do you mean?" "They told us their forces would be equipped with long-range precision instruments and traditional human hunting equipment. When pressed for details, they said we would see soon enough." General rumbled with what might have been laughter. "Hunting equipment? Are they planning to throw spears at energy shields?" The comment drew nervous chittering from the delegation. The idea of primitive humans facing advanced alien technology with hunting weapons seemed absurd to the point of being tragic. "We need to make a decision," Admiral announced. "The operation launches in 3 days. Either we find a way to keep the humans out of direct combat, or we risk watching them be slaughtered on the galactic news networks." Doctor materialized more solidly, her concern evident in the way her ethereal form stabilized. "What if we're wrong about their capabilities? Humans have surprised us before." "How?" General demanded. "By being more reckless than we anticipated, by charging into situations that would make a berserker beast pause." "No," Doctor replied thoughtfully. "By achieving their objectives through methods we didn't understand. Remember the colony ship crisis? Everyone said human engineering was too simple, too crude. Then they somehow managed to restart a failed fusion reactor using nothing but spare parts and what they called creative problem-solving." The council fell silent as they remembered that incident. The human engineers had indeed accomplished the impossible, saving 30,000 colonists from certain death. But engineering problems were very different from military ones. "This is different," Admiral insisted. "Engineering allows for creativity and unconventional solutions. Combat is about superior firepower, advanced technology, and tactical superiority. The savage clans have all three." Queen L accessed the latest intelligence reports. "On has been intercepting our communications. He knows about human involvement in the operation. His forces are reportedly looking forward to adding human scalps to their collection." The phrase sent a chill through the assembled delegates. The savage clans were notorious for taking trophies from defeated enemies, and the idea of human remains being displayed as conquests was disturbing to even the most hardened military minds. "We could delay the operation," suggested General. "Give the humans time to acquire proper equipment." "On won't wait," Admiral replied. "His raids are becoming bolder. Last week they attacked a civilian transport in broad daylight. The next target could be a colony world." Doctor pulled up the human personnel files. "The team leader is Colonel. His service record is..." "Interesting. Multiple commendations for unconventional tactics, several instances of achieving objectives despite being outnumbered." "Against other humans with similar technology," Admiral pointed out. "This will be different." The holographic display showed Colonel's photograph, a weathered human in his mid-40s with intense gray eyes and numerous scars. His file listed operations on dozens of worlds, each one marked as successful despite challenging circumstances. "There's a note here from his superiors," Doctor continued reading. "They describe him as resourceful beyond conventional parameters and capable of finding solutions where none should exist." Queen L clicked her mandibles skeptically. "Resourcefulness cannot overcome basic physics. Energy shields and advanced armor are not problems that can be solved with human cleverness." "Perhaps not," Doctor agreed. But what if we're missing something? What if their hunting equipment is more advanced than we realize? General accessed his tactical databases. I've analyzed every known human weapon design. Their most advanced systems are electromagnetic that fire dense metal slugs, impressive for primitive technology, but still insufficient against modern armor. The operation briefing is tomorrow, Admiral announced. We'll see exactly what the humans bring to the table. If their equipment is as primitive as we suspect, we'll have to find a diplomatic way to keep them out of the main assault. The council members began gathering their materials, but Doctor remained seated, her ethereal form flickering with thought. "Something troubles you?" asked Admiral. "It's probably nothing," she replied, "but I've been monitoring human communication channels. There's been a lot of chatter about something called Project Longbow. They seem excited about field testing new equipment." "Longbow?" Queen Elle accessed her translation matrices. "That's an ancient human weapon, a curved piece of wood that launches arrows. Surely they're not planning to bring medieval weapons to a modern battlefield." The suggestion was so absurd that several council members actually laughed. The idea of humans facing energy weapons with bows and arrows seemed like something from a primitive folklore tale. "I'm sure it's just a code name," Doctor said uncertainly. "Modern humans wouldn't actually use such primitive weapons, would they?" Admiral's scales shifted to a deep blue of concern. In his experience, when humans started talking about ancient weapons and field testing, the results were usually both unexpected and problematic. "We'll know soon enough," he said finally. "Tomorrow's briefing will reveal exactly what humanity brings to this conflict. For their sake, I hope it's more advanced than their historical weapons." As the council session ended, none of the delegates could have imagined that within 72 hours, the entire galaxy would be forced to everything they thought they knew about human warfare. The age of energy weapons and advanced technology was about to meet something far older, far more fundamental, and infinitely more dangerous than anyone could have predicted. The stars continued their eternal dance outside the station's viewports, indifferent to the plans of both aliens and humans. But change was coming, carried on trajectories that would soon prove that sometimes the oldest solutions were the most effective ones. Colonel stood in the equipment bay of the human transport vessel, Determination, watching his team conduct final preparations with quiet satisfaction. The metallic clanging of gear being secured, and the steady hum of the ship's engines created a familiar rhythm that had comforted him through dozens of operations. "Sir, the alien command wants another inventory of our weapons," reported Sergeant First Class Maria Santos, holding a communication tablet that displayed increasingly frantic messages from Admiral's staff. Smiled grimly, his weathered face creasing into familiar lines. "Tell them what I told them yesterday, Sergeant. We're bringing precision instruments designed for long-range engagement." Around the bay, 30 of Earth's finest soldiers prepared equipment that would have seemed alien to their counterparts from just 50 years earlier. The weapons they carefully maintained and checked bore little resemblance to the crude, projectile launchers their ancestors had carried into battle. Corporal James Mitchell ran his hands along the sleek carbon fiber limbs of his weapon, feeling for any imperfections in the surface. The compound bow in his hands was a masterpiece of human engineering, but its basic design would have been familiar to archers from thousands of years ago. "Nervous?" asked Private Lisa, adjusting the microservos in her own bow's cam system. Mitchell grinned. "About facing aliens with energy shields and powered armor, using weapons that most of the galaxy considers museum pieces." He drew his bowstring back to full anchor, checking the smooth operation of the mechanical advantage system. "Nah, should be fun." Observed his soldiers with the pride of a craftsman watching master artisans at work. Each member of his team had been selected not just for their marksmanship skills, but for their ability to think creatively under pressure. They were hunters, soldiers, and engineers rolled into one. "Gather round," called out, and the team formed a semicircle around their commander. "Intel update from our alien friends. The target is Warlord on's main base, built into Asteroid 7 Alpha. The facility is defended by approximately 2,000 pirates in Mark VII. He activated a holographic projector that displayed the asteroid base in 3 dimensions. The structure was impressive. Multiple levels carved into solid rock, energy barriers protecting the entrance points, and weapon emplacements that could destroy approaching ships. Enemy capabilities continued. Their armor can withstand direct hits from plasma weapons, missile strikes, and kinetic penetrators. Energy shields provide additional protection against conventional attacks. Standard galactic military doctrine considers them essentially invulnerable to small arms fire. Sergeant Santos raised her hand. What about their mobility, sir? Good question. They are powered by fusion cells and provide enhanced strength and speed. However, they're designed for open warfare against conventional forces. The armor plating limits joint articulation, and the energy shields require significant power to maintain. Highlighted specific sections of the base structure. Our mission is to neutralize the defensive positions and clear a path for the alien assault forces. Command estimates will face approximately 3-to-1 odds, with the enemy holding superior firepower and defensive positions. Private checked her equipment harness, which contained 30 arrows in specialized sheaths. Each projectile looked deceptively simple, but the carbon fiber shafts and tungsten carbide tips represented decades of materials research and engineering refinement. Sir, asked Corporal Mitchell, what's our backup plan if the energy shields prove more effective than anticipated? Smile turned predatory. There is no backup plan, Corporal. We adapt, overcome, and complete the mission, just like we always do. The team nodded with calm confidence. These weren't fresh recruits being led into an impossible situation. They were veterans who had faced overwhelming odds before and emerged victorious through skill, determination, and the unique human ability to find solutions where none should exist. Technical Specialist finished her final check of the team's specialized equipment. Her role was crucial. She carried the electronic warfare suite that would help coordinate their attack and gather intelligence about enemy defensive systems. Shield harmonics are definitely alien tech, she reported, studying readings from her scanners. But the underlying physics should be familiar. Energy barriers that deflect high-velocity impacts and absorb energy weapons. Weaknesses, asked. Smiled. Every shield system has vulnerabilities. The stronger the defense against one type of attack, the more exposed it becomes to others. These pirates have optimized against energy weapons and explosive projectiles. She pulled up technical schematics on her tablet. Their shields are designed to deflect or absorb attacks that carry significant kinetic or thermal energy. But they have to allow slower-moving objects to pass through, or the user would suffocate inside their own defense field. The implications hung in the air as the team absorbed this information. Watched understanding dawn on their faces as they realized the tactical possibilities. How slow is slow? Asked Santos. Anything under approximately 150 meters per second should pass through without triggering the deflection matrix, replied. The shield generators assume that anything moving that slowly isn't a viable threat. Mitchell hefted his bow thoughtfully. A war arrow from a compound bow typically flies at around 300 feet per second. That's about 90 meters per second. Well within the threshold, confirmed. The shields won't even register our projectiles as threats. Activated another holographic display showing the internal layout of a Mark VII. The armor itself is impressive. Layered ceramics and metal composites designed to distribute and absorb impact energy. Very effective against bullets, plasma bolts, and explosive warheads. He highlighted specific points on the display. However, the design assumes attacks from conventional weapons. The engineers never considered the possibility of facing projectiles specifically designed to defeat their defenses. Armorer Specialist Robert opened a secure equipment case and one of their specialized arrows. The projectile looked innocuous enough, a carbon fiber shaft with stabilizing fins and what appeared to be a simple pointed tip. Standard war arrow construction, explained, but with some modifications. The tip is tungsten carbide with a diamond-hard coating. The shaft is hollow carbon fiber filled with depleted uranium powder for maximum mass. He handed the arrow to Mitchell, who tested its weight and balance. Each projectile weighs approximately 400 grains, compared to 125 grains for a traditional hunting arrow. When fired from our enhanced compound bows, they achieve tremendous penetration potential. Santos examined the arrow tip closely. This looks like it could punch through tank armor. It can, confirmed. We tested these against captured alien armor samples. complete penetration at ranges up to 200 meters, with secondary damage from the depleted uranium core creating internal casualties. Brought up combat footage from their training exercises. The holographic display showed arrows striking various targets, ceramic plates, metal composites, even experimental energy-absorbing materials. In every case, the projectiles achieved complete penetration. The key advantage, continued, is that our weapons are completely silent and produce no energy signature. The enemy's sensors are designed to detect plasma charges, missile launches, and kinetic weapons. They won't even know they're under attack until the arrows start hitting. Raised her hand. What about the range disadvantage, sir? Their weapons can engage targets at several kilometers. Good point, acknowledged. We'll be using the asteroid's complex terrain to our advantage. Close quarters combat in confined spaces where their heavy weapons become liabilities rather than assets. He activated a three-dimensional map of the asteroid base's interior. Intelligence indicates multiple levels connected by narrow corridors and service tunnels, perfect for ambush tactics and close-range engagement. Added technical details. Their battle suits are designed for open warfare. In confined spaces, the bulky armor actually reduces their mobility and limits their fields of fire. Will be faster, quieter, and more maneuverable. Surveyed his team one final time. Each soldier carried a composite bow that represented the pinnacle of human archery technology. The weapons were works of art, precision-engineered tools that combined ancient principles with modern materials science. Remember, concluded, we're not just representing humanity in this operation. We're proving that sometimes the oldest solutions are the most effective ones. The galaxy expects us to fail because our weapons are primitive. They're about to learn that primitive doesn't mean ineffective. Sergeant Santos checked her chronometer. Sir, we reach the operational area in 6 hours. Final equipment check in 4 hours, ordered. Rest periods until then. I want everyone sharp when we hit the asteroid. As the team dispersed to their quarters, remained in the equipment bay, studying tactical displays and refining their assault plan. Through the transport's viewports, he could see the alien fleet. Sleek vessels bristling with advanced weaponry and carrying soldiers equipped with technology that could level cities. But wasn't intimidated. He had learned long ago that the most sophisticated weapon was useless if it couldn't hit its target, and the most advanced armor was worthless if it couldn't stop the incoming projectile. His communication console chimed with an incoming message from Admiral. The alien commander's translated words expressed concern about human readiness, and suggested that perhaps they should reconsider their role in the operation. Composed a brief reply. Human forces are prepared and ready to execute the mission as planned. We appreciate the concern, but our equipment is perfectly suited for the tactical environment. As he sent the message, could imagine the confusion it would cause among the alien commanders. They simply couldn't understand how humans could be confident while carrying what appeared to be toys against enemies equipped with military-grade technology. They would understand soon enough. In less than 18 hours, the galaxy would witness something that hadn't been seen for thousands of years. Ancient weapons proving their worth against the most advanced technology the universe could provide. Settled into his command chair and began final preparations for what promised to be the most unconventional military operation in galactic history. The humans were about to teach their alien allies that sometimes evolution moved in circles. The asteroid field around 442b stretched like a graveyard of shattered worlds, dark rocks tumbling slowly through space in complex orbital patterns. Asteroid 7 Alpha dominated the central cluster, its surface by mining operations and bristling with defensive installations that could reduce attacking fleets to cosmic dust. Admiral stood on the bridge of the flagship's edge, watching tactical displays that showed the human transport vessel taking position near the asteroid's north pole. The small ship looked insignificant against the massive pirate stronghold, like an insect approaching a fortress. Human forces are requesting permission to begin their assault, reported communications officer, his voice tinged with disbelief. Already, Admiral's scales shifted to deep purple. We haven't even completed our positioning maneuvers. Through the bridge's main viewport, the asteroid base was clearly visible. Energy barriers shimmered around docking ports and weapon emplacements. Sensor readings showed over 2,000 life signs inside the facility, each one representing a heavily armed pirate in advanced combat armor. "Sir," called Tactical Officer L, "we're receiving energy signatures from the base. They know we're here." The tactical display lit up with red warning indicators as the pirate base's defenses came online. Plasma cannon turrets swiveled toward the approaching fleet, their energy cores charging with lethal power. General's voice crackled through the communication system from his command ship. "All units, maintain safe distance. Those plasma batteries can core a heavy cruiser at 15 kilometers." Admiral tried to contact the human vessel. "Colonel, recommend you withdraw to minimum safe distance and await the main assault." His reply came immediately, his voice calm and confident. "Negative, Admiral. Human forces are initiating infiltration procedures now." On the tactical display, the human transport ship moved closer to the asteroid, far closer than any sane commander would dare approach an active hostile installation. "They're going to get themselves killed," muttered Tactical Officer L. Admiral watched in growing alarm as the small human ship approached what appeared to be certain destruction. The pirate base's weapons were tracking the vessel, energy levels climbing toward firing threshold. Then something extraordinary happened. Instead of being obliterated by plasma fire, the human ship simply disappeared. "Sensor contact lost," reported L, frantically checking his instruments. "No debris, no energy discharge. The ship just vanished." "Stealth technology," suggested Admiral. "Impossible. Our sensors would detect any known cloaking system." On the asteroid's surface, Colonel and his team emerged from a natural cave system that their transport had accessed through precise maneuvering. The ship had used the asteroid's own mass to mask its approach, then deployed the team through a concealed entrance that their intelligence sources had identified. Activated his tactical display, showing the positions of his soldiers throughout the asteroid's interior. Each member of his team appeared as a green dot moving through the complex tunnel system with practiced stealth. "Bravo team, report status," whispered into his communication system. "In position at level 7, came Sergeant Santos's reply. "Multiple target signatures detected, beginning approach." "Charlie team ready at level 5, reported Corporal Mitchell. "Weapons charged and arrows knocked." Smiled in the darkness of the service tunnel. His soldiers were ghosts moving through an enemy stronghold that considered itself impregnable. The pirates had never faced opponents who could infiltrate without triggering a single sensor. Technical specialist crouched beside an access panel, her scanner reading the energy patterns of the base's internal systems. "Colonel, I've located the primary shield generators. Taking them down will require coordinated strikes on 3 separate control nodes." "Time frame?" asked. "Simultaneous engagement required. Any delay between strikes will trigger automated backup systems." Checked his chronometer and calculated distances. His teams were positioned throughout the asteroid base, each one approaching critical targets with silent precision. "All teams prepare for synchronized assault. Target designation Alpha Bravo Charlie. Execute on my mark in 3, 2, 1, mark." In 3 separate locations throughout the asteroid base, human soldiers drew back compound bow strings and released specialized arrows at critical infrastructure targets. Private's arrow struck the primary power coupling for the eastern shield generator. The tungsten carbide tip penetrated the armored housing and severed critical power conduits, causing a cascade failure that rippled through multiple systems. Corporal Mitchell's shot found its mark on a secondary control node. His arrows depleted uranium core, disrupting delicate circuitry and causing automated systems to shut down in emergency protocol. Sergeant Santos placed her arrow precisely through the central command processor for the western defensive grid. The impact triggered immediate system failures that left entire sections of the base vulnerable. From the surface of Asteroid 7 Alpha, the alien fleet watched in amazement as the energy barriers that had protected the pirate stronghold for months simply winked out of existence. "Impossible," breathed Admiral, staring at sensor readings that showed the base's primary defenses offline. "How did they?" "Sir, we're receiving communication from the human forces," interrupted communications officer. Colonel's voice came through clearly. "Admiral, this is. Primary defensive systems are down. Recommend immediate assault before they can activate backup power. The bridge crew exchanged glances of disbelief. In less than 10 minutes, 30 human soldiers had accomplished what 3 full alien task forces had failed to achieve in months of siege warfare. Inside the asteroid base, alarms began wailing as pirate forces finally realized they were under attack. Emergency lighting cast eerie red shadows through corridors as armored figures began moving toward defensive positions. Warlord On stood in his command center, his massive frame encased in a that represented the pinnacle of pirate technology. Energy coursed through weapon systems that could reduce a building to slag, while his personal shield generator could deflect the main guns of a battle cruiser. "Report," he roared, his electronically amplified voice echoing through the chamber. "Unknown infiltrators have sabotaged primary systems," replied his lieutenant, frantically working at a control console. "All external shields are down, internal defenses are failing." "How many attackers?" "Uncertain, sir. No energy weapons discharge detected, no explosive signatures. Our sensors show no hostile presence." On's face twisted with rage. "Then find them and kill them. I want their heads mounted in my trophy room." Throughout the asteroid, heavily armored pirates began hunting for intruders they couldn't detect. Their advanced sensor systems were designed to track energy weapons, heat signatures, and electromagnetic emissions. None of their equipment was configured to identify enemies who moved in silence and carried weapons that produced no detectable energy patterns. His team moved through the asteroid like deadly shadows, their bows allowing them to strike from concealment without revealing their positions. Each arrow was placed with surgical precision, targeting weak points in armor, gaps in defensive systems, and critical infrastructure components. "Contact Level 6, whispered Private into her communicator as she spotted a patrol of 3 pirates in full. The massive armored figures moved through the corridor with confident swagger, their energy weapons powered up and ready for action. Their shields shimmered with protective energy, and their sensor arrays swept constantly for signs of enemy presence. Drew her bow and selected a specialized arrow from her quiver. The projectile had been designed specifically for this mission, a tungsten carbide tip backed by a depleted uranium core, capable of penetrating the most advanced personal armor in the galaxy. She calculated distance, trajectory, and timing with the precision of a mathematician. The lead pirates showed a small gap where the helmet connected to the chest armor, a design flaw that human engineers had identified through careful study of captured equipment. The arrow flew silently through the artificial atmosphere of the asteroid base. At 90 meters per second, it passed through the energy shield without triggering any defensive response. The tungsten tip struck the gap in the armor with perfect accuracy, penetrating through multiple layers of protection and finding the soft target beneath. The lead pirate collapsed instantly, his life support systems registering a critical failure. His companions spun in confusion, their sensors detecting no threat, no energy signature, no indication of what had killed their comrade. A second arrow found its target before the pirates could react. Shot struck another weak point where the arm joint met the torso, bypassing energy shields and armor plating to deliver lethal damage to the occupant. The remaining pirate began firing wildly with his plasma weapon, the energy bolts lighting up the corridor like deadly fireworks. But he was shooting at shadows, unable to identify the source of the attack. His final arrow ended his desperate defense, striking through the helmet's visor slit with precision that would have impressed the greatest marksman in galactic history. Throughout the asteroid base, similar engagements played out as human soldiers systematically eliminated pirate forces with weapons their enemies couldn't detect or defend against. The advanced technology that made the pirates seemingly invincible became a liability when faced with attackers who operated outside conventional parameters. Colonel monitored his team's progress through real-time status updates. Each eliminated enemy brought them closer to their primary objective, clearing a path for the alien assault forces to reach the base's core facilities. "Alpha Team, proceed to Level 3 and secure the main docking bay," he ordered. "Bravo Team, neutralize the command center on Level 8. Charlie Team, take out the remaining weapon emplacements." His soldiers acknowledged their orders with professional calm and began moving toward their objectives. They were hunters stalking prey through familiar territory, using skills that humanity had refined over of warfare. From their ships in the asteroid field, the alien commanders watched tactical displays that showed pirate forces disappearing from sensors one by one, eliminated by an enemy they couldn't see or understand. Admiral found himself revising every assumption he had made about human military capabilities. These soldiers were achieving results that the galaxy's most advanced armies had failed to produce, using weapons that most civilizations had abandoned thousands of years ago. "Sir," reported communications officer, "human forces are requesting fleet support for the final phase of their assault." "What do they need?" Admiral asked, still stunned by what he was witnessing. Colonel's voice came through the communication system. "We've cleared most of the defensive positions, but Warlord On has barricaded himself in the central command complex with his elite guard. Could use some heavy firepower to finish this." Admiral stared at the tactical display. In less than 2 hours, 30 human soldiers had neutralized a pirate stronghold that had resisted months of siege warfare. They had accomplished the impossible using weapons that predated space travel. "All ships," he ordered, his voice filled with newfound respect, "prepare for final assault, and remember what we've witnessed here today. Humanity has just redefined what we thought was possible." As the alien fleet moved toward the asteroid base, none of the commanders could have imagined that the most shocking revelations were yet to come. The central command complex of Asteroid 7 Alpha had been carved from solid rock and reinforced with the finest military-grade materials stolen from a dozen different civilizations. Blast doors thick enough to withstand orbital bombardment sealed off the inner sanctum where Warlord On had made his final stand. Colonel crouched behind a twisted support beam, studying the fortified position through his tactical scope. The command center was a masterpiece of defensive engineering, multiple layers of energy shields, automated weapon systems, and enough firepower to level a small city. "What's the tactical picture?" he whispered into his communicator. "Not good, sir," came the reply from technical specialist, who was monitoring enemy communications from a concealed position 50 meters away. "On has 40 elite guards in there with him, all equipped with the most advanced money can buy. Personal shield generators, heavy weapons, the works." Through the reinforced windows of the command center, could see massive armored figures moving in coordinated defensive patterns. Each pirate wore a customized that cost more than most planets' annual defense budgets. Sergeant Santos moved up beside, her bow ready and a specialized arrow nocked. "Sir, I count 15 different weapon emplacements covering the approaches. Anyone trying to storm that position is going to get shredded." Activated his tactical display, showing the positions of his remaining team members throughout the complex. They had successfully eliminated over 1,800 pirates during their infiltration, but the final 40 represented the absolute elite of On's forces. "These aren't regular pirates," observed, studying the enemy positions. "Look at their movement patterns, their weapon placement. This is military precision." Private's voice crackled through the communication system. "Sir, I've got a clear shot on one of the guards near the eastern window." "Negative," replied. "These shields are military-grade, not civilian equipment. Our standard arrows won't penetrate." He pulled up technical specifications that had gathered from captured enemy equipment. The elite guards represented technology that was decades ahead of standard military equipment, with energy shields powerful enough to stop anti-ship missiles. Corporal Mitchell joined the conference. "So what's the plan, sir? We can't get close enough for conventional assault, and our arrows won't penetrate their defenses." Smiled grimly, reaching into a specialized equipment case he had carried throughout the mission. "That's why we brought the special ammunition." An arrow that looked subtly different from the others his team had been using. The shaft was slightly thicker, the tip more complex, and strange geometric patterns had been etched along its length. "Quantum tunneling arrows," explained, his voice filled with quiet satisfaction. "Experimental technology that our engineers developed specifically for this type of scenario." Moved closer to examine the projectile. "How does it work?" "The tip contains a micro-quantum field generator," replied, handling the arrow with careful reverence. "When it impacts an energy barrier, it creates a temporary dimensional instability that allows the projectile to tunnel through the shield matrix without triggering defensive responses." Santos whistled softly. That sounds like science fiction, sir. So did space travel once upon a time, replied. Human innovation has a tendency to turn impossible theories into practical weapons. He activated a demonstration hologram that showed the arrow's theoretical operation. The quantum field generator created a microscopic wormhole that lasted only nanoseconds, but long enough for the projectile to bypass energy barriers entirely. Each arrow cost more to develop than a small starship, continued. We've got exactly 12 of them, which means 12 shots to eliminate 40 targets. Mitchell studied the tactical situation. Those aren't good odds, sir. They would be impossible odds, agreed, if we were planning a conventional attack, but we're not going to fight them on their terms. He activated his communication system and connected to the alien fleet. Admiral, we need you to create a distraction. The alien commander's voice came through clearly. What kind of distraction, Colonel? Something big, obvious, and threatening. We need ON's forces focused on external threats while we eliminate them from close range. Within minutes, the asteroid began shaking as the alien fleet opened fire on the command complex's outer defenses. Plasma cannons and particle beams lit up the artificial atmosphere as the ships demonstrated the massive firepower they could bring to bear. Inside the command center, the elite pirates turned their attention to the external threat. Weapon systems swiveled toward the alien ships, energy shields strengthened to maximum power, and tactical displays showed incoming fire that could level mountains. And his team used the distraction to move closer to their targets. The quantum tunneling arrows required precise shots from shorter ranges, and the chaos of the bombardment provided perfect cover for their approach. First target acquired, whispered Private, drawing her bow and aiming at an elite guard who was directing defensive fire through a reinforced window. The quantum tunneling arrow flew silently through the artificial atmosphere of the asteroid. When it struck the guard's energy shield, reality seemed to flicker for an instant. The projectile passed through the barrier as if it didn't exist, then penetrated the advanced armor beneath to find its target. The guard collapsed without making a sound, his death masked by the noise of the ongoing bombardment. His companions continued firing at the alien ships, unaware that they were now under attack from an entirely different direction. Selected his own target, a pirate commander coordinating defensive positions from a central control station. The quantum arrow found its mark perfectly, eliminating another elite warrior without alerting the others to the internal threat. Sergeant Santos and Corporal Mitchell engaged simultaneously, their shots timed to coincide with particularly intense plasma strikes from the alien fleet. 2 more guards fell, their advanced technology proving useless against weapons that operated outside conventional physics. The human team moved like deadly ghosts through the command complex, using their quantum arrows to eliminate enemies who never realized they were under attack. Each shot was placed with surgical precision, targeting weak points that even the most advanced armor couldn't protect. Warlord On stood at the center of his command chamber, his massive frame encased in a that represented the pinnacle of pirate technology. Energy coursed through weapons systems that could destroy buildings, while his personal defenses could withstand direct hits from starship guns. But for all his technological superiority, he was still just a target in Colonel's sights. Drew his final quantum arrow, the most advanced projectile in the human arsenal. This one had been specially modified for heavily armored targets, with additional penetration capability and an expanded quantum field matrix. Target acquired, he whispered to his team, preparing final shot. Through his tactical scope, could see On bellowing orders to his remaining forces. The warlord's face was visible through his helmet's visor, twisted with rage at the destruction of his supposedly impregnable fortress. The quantum arrow flew true, passing through multiple layers of energy shields and advanced armor plating as if they were made of air. When it found its target, the most feared pirate leader in 3 sectors collapsed like a puppet with cut strings. The remaining elite guards stared in shock as their commander fell, unable to understand how an enemy had penetrated defenses that had never failed before. Their confusion lasted exactly long enough for his team to eliminate them with conventional arrows. Command center secured, reported to Admiral. All hostile forces neutralized. The alien fleet ceased firing, and an eerie silence settled over the asteroid base. For the first time in months, the pirate stronghold was completely quiet. Admiral's voice came through the communication system, filled with awe and disbelief. "Colonel, please report your casualties." "0 killed, 2 minor injuries," replied matter-of-factly. "The mission is complete." The silence that followed spoke volumes about the impact of what the humans had accomplished. 30 soldiers with primitive weapons had eliminated over 2,000 heavily armed pirates in their own fortress, suffering minimal casualties while achieving total victory. Technical specialists began gathering intelligence from the command center's computer systems, downloading data about pirate operations, stolen technology, and hidden bases throughout the sector. "Sir," she called out, "you need to see this. The pirates have been developing something called Project. It looks like a superweapon designed to destroy entire star systems." Moved to examine the captured data, his expression growing grim as he read the technical specifications. The pirates had been closer to completing a galaxy-threatening weapon than anyone had realized. "Download everything," he ordered. "The alien governments need to know about this." As his team secured the command center and prepared for extraction, reflected on the mission's success. They had proven that human ingenuity and determination could overcome any technological advantage, no matter how overwhelming it seemed. But more importantly, they had established humanity's place among the stars as equals worthy of respect and recognition. The galaxy would never again underestimate the species that had traveled to the stars carrying bows and arrows. Through the command center's windows, could see the alien fleet approaching the asteroid. Soon, diplomatic representatives would arrive to officially claim the pirate base and its contents. But for now, Colonel and his team had accomplished something that would be remembered throughout galactic history. They had faced impossible odds with primitive weapons and emerged victorious through skill, courage, and the uniquely human ability to find solutions where none should exist. 6 months after the Battle of Asteroid 7 Alpha, the Galactic Trade Council's annual Defense Symposium was held on the pristine world of Harmony Prime. Representatives from 47 different species gathered in the gleaming conference halls to discuss military technology, strategic cooperation, and the ongoing fight against piracy in the outer sectors. Admiral stood before the assembled delegates, his scales displaying the deep blue of respectful attention as he addressed the crowded auditorium. Behind him, holographic displays showed tactical footage from the asteroid assault, images that had shocked military minds throughout the galaxy. "The operation to eliminate Warlord on's pirate base succeeded beyond our most optimistic projections," Admiral began, his voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. "Total elimination of hostile forces, 0 civilian casualties, complete recovery of stolen technology and intelligence data." The footage showed human soldiers moving like shadows through the asteroid complex, their silent weapons eliminating enemies who never knew they were under attack. To the assembled aliens, watching primitive projectile weapons defeat the most advanced defensive technology available was like witnessing magic. "However," Admiral continued, "the most significant aspect of this operation was not the tactical victory itself, but what it revealed about our fundamental assumptions regarding military effectiveness." Doctor materialized more solidly in her chair, her ethereal form glowing with interest. As the Galactic Council's chief military analyst, she had spent months studying the human tactics and their implications. "The humans achieved total victory using weapons that most of our species abandoned thousands of years ago," she reported to the assembly. "Their success forces us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about technological superiority in warfare." General activated additional displays showing comparative weapon effectiveness. Human arrows proved more lethal against advanced armor than our most sophisticated energy weapons. Their silence and lack of energy signature made them undetectable to modern sensor systems. The audience stirred with uncomfortable murmurs. The general's admission carried weight throughout the military community, and his words challenged decades of accepted tactical doctrine. Colonel entered the auditorium wearing his simple blue dress uniform, a stark contrast to the elaborate ceremonial attire worn by most alien military officers. He carried no visible weapons, no technological augmentations, no signs of the advanced civilization that had produced starships and quantum computers. But every delegate in the chamber knew exactly what this unassuming human had accomplished, with nothing more than a bow and arrow. Colonel, Admiral announced, has graciously agreed to address the symposium regarding human tactical innovations. Approached the speaking platform with the quiet confidence of someone who had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious. He activated his own holographic display, showing technical specifications that made several alien engineers gasp with surprise. Many of you have asked how primitive weapons could prove superior to advanced technology, began, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. The answer lies not in the weapons themselves, but in how we chose to use them. He highlighted the quantum tunneling arrows that had eliminated On's elite guard. Human engineers spent 2 years developing projectiles that could bypass energy shields through dimensional manipulation. But the underlying delivery system remained fundamentally unchanged from weapons our ancestors used 10,000 years ago. Doctor raised her hand. Colonel, why choose such an ancient weapon platform when you clearly possess the technology to create far more sophisticated delivery systems? Smiled, because sometimes the simplest solution is the most effective one. Energy weapons create detectable signatures. Explosive projectiles trigger defensive countermeasures. Chemical propellants produce heat and noise that reveal firing positions. He activated a demonstration showing comparative stealth characteristics. A compound bow produces no energy signature, no heat bloom, no electromagnetic emissions. To your advanced sensors, our weapons simply don't exist. The implications sent ripples of discussion through the assembled delegates. The humans had achieved tactical invisibility not through advanced stealth technology, but by deliberately choosing weapons that operated outside modern detection parameters. General leaned forward in his reinforced seat. Colonel, what other primitive weapons is humanity considering for military applications? His expression became diplomatically neutral. That information is currently classified under Earth Defense Council security protocols. However, I can say that human military engineers are exploring numerous historical weapon systems that might prove effective against modern defenses. The alien delegates exchanged glances of concern and fascination. If humans could make bows and arrows into galaxy-changing weapons, what other surprises might they develop from their violent history? Admiral activated another display showing the intelligence data recovered from the pirate base. The operation also revealed that On's forces were developing superweapons capable of destroying star systems. Without human intervention, this threat might have gone undetected until it was too late. Nodded grimly. Project represented technology that could have destabilized the entire galactic community. The data we recovered has allowed Allied forces to identify and eliminate 12 additional weapons development sites. Queen Elle clicked her mandibles thoughtfully. Colonel, the Hive wishes to understand human tactical philosophy. How do you approach problems that seem impossible to solve? By refusing to accept that they're impossible, replied immediately. Human military doctrine emphasizes adaptability, creativity, and the willingness to try unconventional approaches when conventional ones fail. He brought up footage from various human military operations throughout their brief galactic history. Each one showed Earth forces achieving objectives through methods that alien tacticians had never considered. We don't always have the best technology or the most advanced equipment, continued. But we have something that's often more valuable, the ability to look at a problem from angles that no one else has considered. Doctor accessed her research files. Our analysis suggests that human success stems from what you call lateral thinking, the ability to find connections between seemingly unrelated concepts. Exactly, confirmed. When everyone else was trying to develop better energy shields, we started thinking about ways to bypass shields entirely. When conventional wisdom said projectile weapons were obsolete, we found ways to make them more effective than modern alternatives. The symposium continued for hours as alien military leaders questioned about human tactics, strategy, and weapon development. Each answer revealed new layers of complexity in what had appeared to be a simple species with primitive technology. Admiral eventually called for a formal vote on a resolution that would fundamentally change galactic military cooperation. The Galactic Defense Council proposes to establish the Human Innovation Corps, tasked with developing unconventional solutions to tactical problems that have proven resistant to traditional approaches. The vote was unanimous. Every species represented wanted access to the kind of creative problem-solving that had turned ancient weapons into modern military assets. As the symposium concluded, found himself surrounded by alien engineers, tacticians, and military commanders eager to learn more about human methods. The species that had been dismissed as primitive just months earlier was now being courted as the galaxy's premier military innovators. But perhaps the most significant moment came when Admiral approached privately after the formal sessions had ended. "Colonel," the commander said, his scales showing deep respect, "I owe you an apology. When your forces first arrived with primitive weapons, I thought you were either brave fools or dangerous incompetents." Nodded graciously. "No apology necessary, Admiral. Your concerns were logical based on available information." "What troubles me," Admiral continued, "is that we've spent so much time developing better versions of the same weapons that we forgot to ask whether different weapons might be better entirely. Considered this carefully. That's a common trap in military thinking. Everyone focuses on incremental improvements instead of revolutionary changes. Sometimes the best way forward is actually the oldest way forward." As prepared to return to Earth, he reflected on how much had changed since that first council meeting where alien leaders had worried about human survival in combat. Now, those same leaders were restructuring their entire military research programs to incorporate human tactical innovations. The message that would reach Earth alongside Colonel's transport would request permanent human military advisors for every major alien fleet. The species with primitive weapons had become the galaxy's most sought-after strategic consultants. But knew this was just the beginning. Human engineers were already working on new applications for ancient weapon systems: crossbows with quantum-enhanced bolts, siege engines that could breach modern fortifications, and cavalry tactics adapted for zero-gravity warfare. The galaxy had learned to respect the power of human innovation, but they had no idea what other surprises lay hidden in Earth's violent history. Somewhere in human archives were weapon designs and tactical concepts that could revolutionize warfare once again. As his transport ship departed from Harmony Prime, smiled at the thought of future alien reactions when they discovered what humans could do with catapults and trebuchets enhanced by modern materials science. The universe was about to learn that when it came to warfare, everything old could indeed become new again. And in the deepest vaults of Earth's military research facilities, engineers were already sketching designs for the next generation of ancient weapons enhanced with impossible technology. The bow and arrow had been just the beginning. The galaxy would never be the same. The age of energy weapons and advanced technology had just learned to respect the power of a well-placed arrow.